here's where the media is going to go with this. Look at this woman, Alex Witt, on MSNBC, who is an anchor. Look at her reaction and spin after she knew. This is after we learned about today's assassination attempt. Watch us.
Do you expect to hear anything from the Trump campaign about toning down the rhetoric, toning down the violence, or would that be atypical of the former president?
Well, Alex, remember back to the assassination attempt on President Trump's life and how, there was talk of a new tone, and then the Republican convention was, by Trumpian standards, muted. And it did seem like he was, just trying to take it down a few notches. But then by the end of his convention speech, we were kind of back to where we started.
That was Elise Jordan of Time Magazine as the guest. Unbelievable. So what this is about is Trump's unwillingness to tone down the most controversial thing Trump has said in the past several weeks is that he hates Taylor Swift. That does not get you a bullet or create cable news segments about how you need to lower the rhetoric, right? But calling someone Hitler, that might warrant that kind of a discussion, but we didn't see that. In fact, they're the ones doing that. That's exactly the kind of magazine that was doing that, right? We saw that on the New Republic, that Trump was Hitler. And so really, even in response to this, once again, the response, Bill, is maybe Trump really needs to tone down his rhetoric.
Yeah, it's essentially victim shaming. It's like you're blaming the target, not the perpetrators, not the people that are calling him Hitler, telling the country that if he gets elected, we lose our country. Not, they're self-radicalizing these people through their words, but they're saying, President Trump, stop speaking up for yourself, stop running for president, just lay down and let Kamala Harris win. And that's insane. To me, that's the sin. They'll perpetuate this. They'll put a tweet out. There is no room for violence. The same way Kamala said, don't come across the border.
I mean, you can almost imagine.
Just FYI, NBC News is now also reporting the name of the attempted shooter is Ryan Wesley Routh, Routh. More and more pictures of him are coming out online. I mean, I'll just describe for you that he's got very spiky blonde hair that looks like it's overly gelled or has a lot of product in it. He's rather stylishly dressed in some of these photos that are appearing in social media. He does not look anything like some sort of vagabond. We don't know his story. I'm sure we'll know much more, though. How much more, right? That's one of the questions, Buck. Like how much? Because we know precious little about the first shooter from Butler, Pennsylvania. And I don't know how much we're going to learn about this guy either, since the new approach seems to be not full accountability, but keeps everything under wraps. We never got an explanation for it's unsafe to stand on a slanted roof, and that's why we weren't up there. We've just been lied to at every turn about the first one. And why should we expect anything different about the second?
No, and in fact, I think it's likelier this time that they will, or rather, they will even more easily bury this story and put it in the memory hole and move past this as fast as they. First of all, the president thank God, didn't actually take a bullet this time, wasn't covered in blood, right? So the bar, in essence, on this is such that they'll just say, yeah, well, Secret Service, they fired at this guy, they did their job, nothing really to see here, folks, because I mean, ultimately, this plays into exactly what we're talking about. You're saying it, Bill's saying it, I'm saying it. Which is that the Democrat Party should be absolutely ashamed of how they have positioned Donald Trump, who is the duly elected former president and obviously the Republican candidate in this 2024 election cycle. I can tell you, Megyn, it was always interesting, to sit down and read both the interrogation transcripts in particular of some of the worst al-Qaeda terrorists, because they had this rationalization for their action, but a lot of it would be things that people would say, well, that's crazy, or that doesn't make sense, or that's unfair. Imagine you were to sit down with this individual, who, by the way, I'm sure we'll never hear from publicly. They'll just, this guy will end up taking a plea in 12 months and, you'll never hear from or see him again. Imagine you sat down with him and said, why did you do this? Why did you do this? It would be interesting, and I think it would be very instructive to the environment that the Democrats have created, because he would say, I've been told, and he could list all the different, he could say that there was an insurrection, the worst attack, Megyn, the worst attack since the Civil War, therefore worse than 9/11. This has been
Just
said
heard that
at the debate, right? The worst.
Yep.
So this individual, Donald Trump, according to Democrats, is responsible for an attack that's worse than the jihadist massacre of innocents that killed almost 3,000 people in one day and started a global war on terror. He's worse than that. Federal prosecutors apparently have agreed with that because they're trying to push this crazy case that Donald Trump said things that they don't like, and therefore the insurrection is his fault, right? You could line up, if you sat down and you were the individual who wants to explain why he would think, why he would act the way that he has here with this attempted assassination, he would be able to point to the most powerful and trusted Democrats in office, in media, in corporate America, and say, I agree with them. I just decided to do something about it. That is the mentality that has been that is being fostered here by the way Democrats. Otherwise, someone explain to me, I mean, a threat to democracy, the worst attack since Pearl Harbor? If I could stop somebody who was trying to commit another Pearl Harbor, right? I mean, you start to go down this rabbit hole. They just say it because it's useful political rhetoric. That's how they'll explain it, right? That's how the CNNs
we just made a reference to it. Just earlier this week at the presidential debate, one of the things that we reacted to was how personal she got. The ad hominem attacks against Donald Trump. It wasn't normal rhetoric from a debate stage. She got very personally nasty with him. Yes, it was like praised by the left as, she just knew how to press his buttons. She just knew exactly which trigger would set him off, without any thought for, is this responsible talk from the woman who's asking us to make her leader of the free world? You understand that this man already had his life almost taken by an assassin like that? My point is simply, I'm going to play the soundbite. If Trump had been speaking this way about Kamala Harris, and God forbid she had 2 attacks on her life, every single mainstream media outlet would be in full meltdown right now. Full meltdown over him and his words. But she can insult as long as she wants, as grossly as she wants. No one will say anything about her. You can have the Hitler-esque magazine covers. You can have, we'll get to what the Lincoln Project just did. You can have every representative on the Democratic side come out and say the worst possible things about him. And they'll just say, no, it's absolutely irresponsible. Here's Kamala Harris, just as a refresher from Tuesday night at the debate.
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. During the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace. It is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy consistently over the course of his career. Attempted to use race to divide the American people. These dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear they can manipulate you with flattery and favors.
I mean, I'm sorry, Bill, but if the shoe were on the other foot, that stuff would be on nonstop loop on every single cable channel.
You hit it right on the head. And if the script was flipped, I guarantee you would find some DA looking to bring charges of being complicit in this crime. They would look to charge President Trump if they made an attempt on Kamala's second time. They would look to indict him on
charge
something.
Him with incitement.
Exactly. And this is where things are getting really, really scary. And to bring up a point that you brought up before about the Secret Service. No one loses their job. We saw that at the IRS. We saw it with the feds that were texting each other how they have a backup plan. They just got like 1.5 million as severance. You know, until our civil servants are held accountable and being able to be fired, we're going to see them dropping the ball time and time again. And I apologize. I'm a former civil servant, and I've seen it, and I still see it.
Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.